Alright, well, welcome to my next free tutorial. This one I'm going to take one of the custom brushes that I was stamping around in the last tutorial, or something similar, and I made a bunch of swatches. You see my file over to the right, there's a bunch of layers, and I just picked one that I liked, and it was just, stamping around a mixture of brushes, and I found this shape that I liked, and I'm going to make a little sort of walking vehicle here. So I pulled this one out and made a separate layer, or a separate new file out of it, I should say, and then I up-resed it a bit. And what I like to do when I first start is to sort of squint my eyes at it and see see what I can find in there, and then I go in and just start glazing over it a little bit. And you can do this with really any brush, and you see it's set to opacity of 50%, and it's set as pressure sensitivity turned on. So I just glaze over it to refine my silhouette, and then I go in and I start to clean up the outside of the silhouette, just painting. Actually, I got a layer mask here hiding part of it. So I used a layer mask just in case I wanted to go back at some point. So here I'm just sketching in a ground plane. And I usually start, if I reference back to that tutorial I did on proximity-based styling that I like to do. So I almost always start with silhouette, proportion, and stance first. And then I work into the graphics, the transitional forms, and things like that second. And then, on down the line as I refine it. So this tutorial is only 14.5 minutes long, roughly. And I'm going to go over 3 of these, and they're all going to come out of the exact same initial source. So I'm going to take that same stamped little custom brush swatch, and I'm going to create 3 different designs that are all 3 different scales, and show how you can play with that. So here I'm dropping in the figure, which immediately now we have a relationship to it because we see a human body. So now we get a sense of the scale, and I'm starting to refine the head of this guy. So it's got some sort of a animal-like head on it. It's kind of animal-like anyway because it's got legs and a tail. I saw that thing behind it, like a big scorpion tail almost, bent, very mechanical looking, and it's got 4 legs, one of which is raised up, and the other 2 are the back legs that he's standing on in the back, and then this other one on the front. So it's kind of an action pose in a way. And I'm just glazing over it and starting to rough out a little bit of symmetry. Not much, it's going to stay very loose. This is like one of the very, very first stages that I would do. And just trying to explore 3 different designs maybe before I commit to which one I would want to finish. And I actually have another tutorial I'll post in a couple of weeks, maybe even the next one, that goes into taking one of these and doing a design pass where I try to refine it beyond the silhouette, proportion, and stance. So this one's kind of just about done, actually. It's just trying to set the scale, the silhouette, proportion, stance, some rough transitional forms, soft light from above, so really simple lighting strategy. Not too much into really getting in and working out the pivots and the joints, none of that yet. Just trying to see if I have a design that I like. Do I like the pose? Do I like the character of it? And that's where it came from, and that's where it went to. And so let's do it again. So I'll take my initial swatch. I just put those guys into a group. Maybe I'll try to take, if I still have this Photoshop file somewhere, maybe I'll try to throw it into my Dropbox, and you can download the PSD file and open it up and see the layers. It's very, very simple, but it's kind of fun to turn them off and on and see the differences when you can just turn on and off the groups. So I'll see if I can dig it up. And I do these a lot of times in grayscale because I don't want to be influenced by the color early on when I'm trying to evaluate the design. So at this point I've sort of squinted my eyes at it again, I've looked at it, and before I lose the image of what I'm seeing, I try to go in there and cut out the silhouette. And this is like a classic illustration technique where you'd sort of go back in and erase, or paint out, I should say, the background to clean it up and define my silhouette that way. And then I'm going to go back into the figure and start to pull out and add to the form. So I'm still thinking about it. I'm still trying to see where is it going to be positioned relative to the ground. And I'm trying to find another design in the same swatch. So still squinting my eyes at it, thinking. So when you see me pause, that's usually I'm thinking before to try and figure out which what part am I going to emphasize and what part am I going to erase. So in the case of this one, I sort of saw this guy on the side of a hill, and so just blocking out a hillside here. And then I see it's kind of got the same sort of leg configuration, but I'm going to play around with it a little bit and see what I can find. And a lot of these clips have been sped up, probably about triple speed in this case, I think, because it was a lot of, it's not a lot educationally going along with layers or anything. It's like one layer on top, to clean it up, one layer mask to clean up my silhouette, and that's about it. So there's a lot of interesting shapes in there. Once you zoom in, like that could be some guy's head. It's probably what I make it. I don't remember. We'll see here in a minute. I did this recording a while ago. So yeah, it looks like that's going to be our pilot or our driver piloting this thing. So now I'm just twisting around the perspective a little bit, twisting him back around. Originally I saw the guy, really it was in side view. And once I saw that side view silhouette, then I kind of liked that. And then I like those little ribs through there, so I'm just kind of glazing over and picking out those shapes. And I like working like this, where you have a lot of underpainting in your original sketch. And here my original sketch was, again, a custom brush, which was sampled from an original traditional media marker sketch. So I have a lot of that texture already into this illustration. And here, it looks like, so I kept that far side front leg similar, but you can see I totally have changed the position now to like almost a side view or like a front 3/4 view. And what was the back leg on the last one has now become the front right leg on this new direction. And always, a lot of times you'll have symmetry issues. So what I'm trying to do here is roughly add in the same sort of joints and symmetry that I have on the near side leg onto the far side leg to make those front two limbs match. So I imagine there's some sort of foot or claw there. And again, at this early stage, I'm just really blocking it out. Not worry too much about the perspective, too much about the proportions, and the symmetry. That would all get dialed in later. But at this early stage, just trying to find the design, right? And like I said, really trying to find the silhouette, the proportion, and the stance, which I think are critical to the success of the design, especially if it's something that, hints at an animal form, then it's or something organic, then that stance becomes even more important to give it life. So it's got these kind of spiky rear legs, and they've pushed themselves into this land here, whatever this hillside is. And I don't know what he's reaching for, but that's pretty much that one. Okay, and let's go back to the next one. So this will be the third one. Then I'm about a little past halfway on this tutorial, and I'm going to see if I can find a third design out of the exact same source. So squinting my eyes at this point, you see me pausing with the brush. I'm looking, considering, where am I going to take it? Where is the next one? And you could see another one even if you flip this thing horizontal. Probably you could see one even easier or faster. And that's why I'm using a layer mask, because I'm not confident that I'm not confident enough to erase it, because I might decide that I made a mistake and I want to get my original swatch back. So I'm just hiding it with a layer mask. Okay, now I'm deciding I'm going to go and put this guy on a flat ground plane instead of a hill. So changing the environment. And I like that sort of leg with the hole in it. And I'm going to go back and forth on this one, and then ultimately I'm going to ditch part of it, I believe. So, but in the end, this is the one that I refine in a later tutorial. So even though I'll struggle with it, it's actually in the end it's the one that I liked the most. But it didn't come together as quickly as the others. So I work this way a lot when doing sort of random sci-fi stuff or book illustrations. So say I was doing an illustration for our book, Nothing But Mech, for instance, and there's really no limitations except try to draw a cool, mech of some sort. And this is a really fun way to start when you don't have limitations on the engineering, or say there are some functions that you have to have because it's a toy, or it has to transform a certain way and it has to be a real physical mechanical device. this fantasy stuff is really, loads of fun because you sort of can't be wrong in a way. Make it look like it has hinges and looks mechanical enough, then you've sort of accomplished the goal. So I'm just putting in pivot points and hinges and things to sort of give it some realism. And now I'm deciding on this one that it's not going to be quite as open through the middle. And what you're going to see me struggle with here is this forward leg. I'm trying to decide, is the leg, are those the two back legs that I see? I think I've sort of done that. And then is this left front leg all bent up? So I'm sort of seeing it. Could it be all folded up and squished up towards the torso? And if that's the case, then of course drawing it becomes a bit of a challenge. You just have to slow down. But it's a challenge because it needs to be a symmetrical version of the right leg of this character's right leg. And trying to figure out how that thing's going to bend when it really wasn't designed to bend. It's just, again, a happy accident out of my first swatch. So you see me struggle a bit here, trying to decide, is this thing going to really fold up this way, and what's the foot look like? How does it articulate? So here I'm going to play around with changing the back legs, because part of that leg right there was running into my foreground leg. So this one takes a little bit more effort to find. I like that little diamond shape there on the chest. And I think I'm going to go and start defining my center line and ultimately ditch this folded up leg. It's just struggling with it, trying to see what's in front, what's behind, because everything's fair game at this point. But I think this is one of the crucial and one of the most important parts of laying out a new design and a new illustration, is to try and get the character and the pose and the silhouette working before you move any further. So you can see I go all the way back and say, this is awful. I didn't like it. So I like parts of it, but I didn't like enough of it to keep it. So just ditch it. And it's totally fine. I mean, this is, you start out with a happy accident anyway. There's no guarantees that the direction you're going to go is going to work. And if it's not working, just kill it and start over. I didn't like those little claw sort of legs. And I'm deciding to just add another back leg, sort of mirroring that one there that already exists. And I like this more sort of like gorilla pose in a way, with these two long arms with these pointy feet. More like they're kind of like huge tripods in a way. And so I just kind of painted that in. And ultimately those will be the two front legs and this added one at the back. And the back one there, I could have just taken the character's right rear leg and then just mirrored it if I wanted to keep all that texture and line work in there. Here I'm cleaning up the silhouette. So now I kind of have it working. I have these huge front arms. It's kind of, standing on these spikes, and it's got kind of this tough gorilla pose. And on this one, I'm not going to put a human character in here, so we won't have a scale reference. It's not something maybe you drive or ride on. It's more sort of autonomous mech. And so I've sort of had this head. I imagine this head's looking off to the left in this case. And so now I'm just going in, starting to define the silhouette. And this one's almost done as well. So this one, you can see when I went back in and I ditched the first go around, I got back to something I liked much faster on the second time around, and it was well worth just killing the first one and starting over again. So this is going to take me to the end, and I've got three directions, all very loose, but they're three different directions, all using the same source. And I'll see if I can find the Photoshop file so you can download it off my Dropbox. So those are the three proposals out of one swatch, all ready for further development.